Welcome to Radio OPAC. Radio OPAC is a division of the Ohio Arts Connection. At OPAC, we connect people to the power of arts inside and outside of prison. My name is Edward Julian, and I will be your host today. Welcome to all of you, including our friends in correctional institutions in Ohio and other states via our DVDs of the art shows. The shows are archived on YouTube. Our guest today is Kari Gunter-Seymour. Welcome, Kari.
Thank you, Edward. I'm really happy to be here.
Before we get started, let me remind our audience that there will be a live talkback following our 15-minute interview. The Zoom link will be posted in the comments section. Hello, Kari Gunter-Seymour, the Ohio Poet Laureate. Poetry preparation is an art form, and Kari, you have been doing this for 10 years now. Your love for poetry is at the heart of your job. We know that prison, it can be a challenge to get some alone time to write. Also in prison, some people are writing poetry for the first time. So at the end of our interview, Kari will recite a poem she wrote for us. Kari, you are an Appalachian, and you have gone through a personal transformation. Can you tell us about that?
Thank you, Edward. I would be honored to. Yeah, transformation, and maybe another word for it might be epiphany, because I was lucky enough to stumble upon the fact one day that poetry can be very healing. My son is a combat vet. He served 3 tours in the Middle East, and during that time, it was pretty much the worst conflict of the wars in the Middle East, and there was no email. You might get a phone call every few days, and it was always late at night because, you know, time is opposite on the opposite side of the world. Yeah. And I can't even explain to you what a mess I was, but other mothers will understand what I'm saying. And so I started losing my mind, as I said. So someone said, you have to exercise. So I started exercising. And then someone said, you have to journal. So I started journaling. And then an acquaintance said, you should write poetry. Take your journal entries, find the poems in there. And when I did that, I could confront my fear, my anger. I could bring some order to all the chaos that was going on in my head and literally in the world, and kind of tackle my regrets, my fears, my guilt. I could examine it all on the page. I got it out of my head onto the page, and it became kind of like a ritual. I would write and write and write and write, and then I'd go back and try to find the poems in there. And it just really helped me become a more functional human being at that time when everything just seemed so completely crazy.
Yes.
And horrible.
I agree. So what advice do you have for people who want to change a traumatic experience in their life?
Well,
because you write poetry.
I do write poetry. A traumatic change is something that you both mentally and physically go through, okay? So I've kind of touched on that with the first question a little bit about, you know, what I did. And I think that to go even further, it's kind of about self-care. Yeah. You know, you have to think about your own self-care. Write about it all that you can. I really think that when you have those conversations with the page, that's so wonderful because you're just, like I said, you're getting it out, you're putting it on the page, you're looking at it yourself. Now here's another idea, just a little something. If you have someone in your life that you feel you can trust to share that work with a little bit, that's another great thing to do. And you don't even have to ask them for critique. You can just say, I would like to share this with you. And do you have any comments? Or, you know, just a little bit of somebody saying, I hear you. And if you turn out to be that person that someone approaches because they want to have that discussion with you, then make sure you're not coming there with judgment. Just come there and listen.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you just need someone to listen to what you're trying to get figured out. You know, you've got it on the page, you're looking at it, you're sort of confronting it, you're bringing some order to the chaos, and then you just kind of want to share that with someone.
Yes.
You don't necessarily want them to give you advice. You just
Right.
want them to say, I hear you. I hear you. You know?
And I know that. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm just going to say, and that's why poetry is so cool, because you can write a poem and share it with someone, and you don't have to listen to what their response if you don't want to. You know, you don't have to ask for their response necessarily.
Yes. And I know that from personal experience, just writing poetry, it gave me that opportunity just to release. It was whether it was built up anger, stress, frustration, or just having that, just feeling like lonely.
Yes.
And it gave me the opportunity to write it down on paper. And I like what you just said, having a conversation with the paper.
Yeah.
Because that's a personal conversation that you're having with the paper, whether you want to release this to someone else, let someone else read it like you were just saying. So you are the poet laureate of Ohio. And when you run across people or come in contact with people, writing poetry or motivating someone, what might you tell them when they feel like giving up?
Well, here's what I practice. So I would share with them what I practice. Walk away. Just walk away from it. Go ahead. Walk away. Take a day. Take 2. Take 10. I mean, I know people who've left poetry for months at a time, even years, and come back to it. So it doesn't really go away. So don't be fearful of that. But give yourself, your muse, your brain, your body, everything, that time to maybe play a little bit. Because sometimes we start taking it so seriously, and because we've developed maybe this routine of sitting down every day and journaling and maybe doing some writing, it's kind of like when you lift weights. You shouldn't do it every day sometimes. You know what? Even though you're using different muscle groups, it's still, maybe you should just take a day off. Maybe you don't need to run every day. You know what I mean? So, you know, read a book, go for a walk, exercise, do senseless things. You know, if you have a television, watch some television. It's not going to hurt you to do that for a few hours on one day. You know, treat yourself to some delicious food that you normally wouldn't have, like a really chocolatey, nutty, nougaty, you know, coconutty candy bar that you would never allow yourself, but do it that day. Just reward yourself, because up to that point, you've done so well, and it's really okay if you feel like walking away. Maybe you need to walk away for a little bit, and it's okay, because it'll still be there when you come back. So that's what I practice.
Great example. And I like that example you gave about working out, because I know, and I work out a lot. So what I do is that on Mondays, I do arms and I do chest work. Then Tuesday, I do leg work, and then I'm back to chest work, because you have to give your body that opportunity to grow and let your muscles relax, and then come back and attack them again. So I like that. In case you are just joining us, our guest today is Kari Gunter-Seymour, the Ohio Poet Laureate. We are discussing why it's important to follow your dreams. We invite you to join us after the 15-minute interview for a live talk back with the Zoom link in the comments section. So Kari, the pandemic has changed things everywhere. We know that our prison population have been deeply affected and have business, and so have our businesses. How has it affected you and your poetry?
Well, I'll tell you what, this is going to sound really selfish, because I can only imagine how this has affected those incarcerated. We've seen what's happened to our businesses, but I have such empathy for those currently incarcerated because of just the fear alone, I think would be very difficult with what's happening with the pandemic. And I have huge empathy for that, and admire those who are still able to function well with that additional burden kind of being heaved on them. Myself personally, dealing with the pandemic, when it hit, all of my gigs, you know, my workshops, my readings, the conferences I was to appear at, you know, were all canceled, of course. And and most of them at first were not even virtual because we hadn't really built up to that yet, you know. So I had this this void, this amount of time that, again, I say I'm so lucky. I thought, okay, it's now or never. This is the time that you could put this book together that you've been thinking of, this book of poems. And so I did that. I collated the poems that I already had written, and then I wrote some more during that time and literally pulled this little book together. It's called A Place So Deep Inside America It Can't Be Seen, from Sheila Nagig Editions. And I got this out, found a printer, and actually got it out.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just like one of those things where all the stars lined up, obviously, to have written several poems so quickly and have them be in pretty good shape. You know, of course, I had to revise and edit, but so that's kind of what happened to me. And then soon after, I joined a few open mics that were Zoom meetings, and I thought, hey, I can do that. So I bought a Zoom subscription and started up my workshops again. I do a monthly workshop series. So I am, you know, currently doing that, and definitely can't travel the state as the Poet Laureate, you know, in the traditional way, but I am traveling the state virtually.
Yeah.
And I've been reading in Cincinnati and Toledo, and have, you know, many other, Columbus, Ohio, just this week. I was in North Carolina a couple weekends ago. You know, I told my husband, I'm in North Carolina this weekend, you know, because in a way you're still there, you know, you're still interacting with people. It's a little bit different. You're kind of removed a little bit from each other, but I think we are learning. Look at me doing this. I'm an extrovert. You know, I still am able to kind of reach to the screen. Edward, you're the same way. And we connect with each other. And I think we need to take advantage of that and just make those connections, you know, and don't let this stop us from connecting, you know, this screen in between us. No, let's just kind of get ourselves used to it and embrace it and go for it.
I definitely like your enthusiasm, and you have been, you know, just sharing this experience with you, being able to interview, it's really have been, you know, what I would call, say, this is real personal, even though we're on screen, and I appreciate that. Because so tell me, Kari, what has been truly the difference from being in front of a live audience and on screen traveling virtually?
Well, I'm probably going to get myself in trouble here, but last weekend I had a reading. I think it was scheduled like at 7 o'clock or something. And at 5:30, I was out mowing the yard. Then I ran in the house, had my shower, got myself ready, and got online. Okay, so, you know, normally I would have spent several hours traveling, you know, and I would have been a little tired and probably a little bit nervous, and, you know, all the things that go with travel and getting yourself there at the right time, at the right place, and having your head in the right place, and, you know, not being all wired up from heavy traffic or whatever. Yeah, I was out mowing my yard, came in, got myself ready. So, you know, I think we can see that as a great advantage in the sense that I feel more refreshed. I don't feel as pressured. You know, I'm one of those people that gets lost really easy. So sometimes just the whole idea of having to travel can, you know, psych me up a little bit, you know. So by the time I get there, I'm a little bit, you know. So being able to sit in my beautiful little studio and chat with people, I find stunning and wonderful. But admittedly, I miss the hugs. I miss the handshakes. I miss the just the eye contact and people being able to speak, because it's difficult in Zoom, because if I'm speaking, you try to speak, then it just gets all garbled, that
Yeah.
sort of thing. So I really miss that. And I admit, I totally miss the gatherings, the in-person gatherings, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I also am really learning to embrace the virtual and trying to find what's really good about that as well.
Yeah, I appreciate that, because that interaction, it means so much when you're right there in the crowd, and you can actually just see people and hear their little
Yes.
wow.
Yes.
And it means so much. So
It
during
does.
the pandemic, many more people are reading and writing at home. You have a special treat for us today. What is the name of the poem you are about to recite?
This is called "I Come From a Place So Deep Inside America It Can't Be Seen," and that's the anchor poem from my new book.
Okay, we'll
Would you
take
like me to
off
share
here.
it? Okay.
Yes.
I come from a place so deep inside America it can't be seen. White oaks thrash. Moonlight drifts the ceiling as if I'm underwater. Propane coils, warms my bones. Gone are the magics and songs, all the things our grandmothers buried, piles of feathers and angel bones, inscribed by all who came before. When I was 12, my cousins called me ugly, enough to make it last. Tonight, a celebrity on Oprah imagines a future where features can be removed and replaced on a whim. A moth presses wings thin as paper against my window, more beautiful than I could ever be. Ryegrass raise seedy heads beyond the bull thistle and preen. Everything alive aches for more.
Wow. That was a really touching poem, and it brought back so much that I went through as a child, of being called certain names, or being stereotyped. So, I really enjoyed that poem, Kari.
Thank you, Edward.
Great job.
Are you going to share a poem with us as well?
Well, if you would like me to, I'll share a poem.
I would love that.
Okay, so this poem is called Believe in You. Never settle for less. Just being you make you the best. Respect starts with you. Many are called, but the chosen are few. Channel your pride. Face your fears inside. The depth of your struggle can't be denied. Pushing against what is, as a man think, so it is. A glimmer of hope is all you need, with the faith of a mustard seed. The jealous clouds may swallow the sun. The moon alter its shape for fun. Life is about change. Nothing ever stays the same. Some days you're up, some days you're down. It's who you become when the next day rolls around. People will talk, have different opinions of you. It's not who they think you are, but the things you say and don't do. Where there is life, there is hope. And you should never take your life for a joke. If the mind can conceive it, the man can achieve it. Nothing is too small to know. Nothing is too big to attempt to grow. Success is a journey, not a destination. Relax and let it flow. And never hold your head low. Let the sidewalk fall victim. A man becomes a man, but not by the people who picked him. This is your true awakening, your chance to be free. Don't expect to be what you haven't worked to be.
Ooh, wow, that was fantastic.
I want to thank you, Kari Gunter-Seymour, the Ohio Poet Laureate. Join us next week for another edition of Radio OPAC. And a reminder, we are switching our shows to Wednesday. Now join us in our Zoom talkback by clicking in the link in the comment section. See you in the Zoom room. Thank you, Kari.
Thank you, Edward.
Every stumbling block stuck in our way. We're gonna make it happen. Do it. day. Brother